Welcome to The Line. This week, the Albuquerque Journal reported that all but one of the traditional high schools in APS saw a drop in graduation rates last year. Now, in fact, the graduation rate fell across the state. Is this something that concerns you? Let's see. Tell us what you think. Visit us online at NewMexicoInFocus.org to share your opinion. Now, our Line panelists are ready to weigh in on this news. Here at the table today, I'm joined by Tom Garrity. He is with the Garrity Group Public Relations. Merritt Allen, she is Principal and Executive Director of Vox Optima. Margaret Wright is back. She's with the New Mexico Political Report. And Stephen Spitz from KONM's New Mexico's People, Places, and Ideas is here. Thanks to you all for joining. Now, Merritt, interestingly, graduation rates are traditionally difficult to track, so to speak. There's differences in year to year. It's tough to see trends. It's hard to see differences between charter schools and public schools. But in the overall sense, let's start with the overall. Should we be concerned about these numbers, or is this a blip to you?
I am concerned, but I think we need more time, since the numbers just came out last Friday, to understand what backs these numbers. But I mean, it's easy for me as a product of New Mexico Public Schools. Hating on APS is an easy target, but I'm not sure. It may just be new criteria, and so by tracking things a different way, the actual numbers have dropped. I'm on the governing council of a local charter high school, and we're recruiting for open enrollment. And what we posted on our mailers and the number that we just got from the state are not the same.
Oh, interesting. So, I'm curious, how off are they from your numbers? If you can't give up internal stuff, I realize.
I believe it's about 5 percentage points.
That's not a small number.
And it's a college prep school.
Yeah.
So that's a huge concern.
Interesting. Margaret, thank you for coming back. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Graduation rates here traditionally in APS is difficult because one of the problems is, of course, keeping kids in school, keeping them physically in the classroom. You've done some work on this. We've done some work here with Public Square with our colleague Megan Kamerick. Very difficult position. How big a factor is this as you read it?
Well, I haven't actually looked at the numbers themselves, which I am eager to, because I do think, of course, graduation rates are an important factor to consider when it comes to the health of public schools. But the wide vacillations raise a lot of questions when it comes to looking at them year to year. And it just makes me wonder whether they're more a reflection of a school's demographics than the actual performance of that school.
We're going to get into that too. That's an interesting question you proposed there. Good to see you, Mr. Spitz.
Great to see you.
And the idea that we are graduating somewhere just under 70% of our students and quite under that too in some others. Is that the overall bigger concern here? Do you know what I mean? In context.
I think you're absolutely right on that point. I mean, it both can be a statistical blip, as people have pointed out, because they go up and down. But the point is that we're essentially stagnant, even if it is a statistical blip. And we're stagnant when the rest of the country is going up. The average graduation rate in the rest of the country is 81%. So the question is, why? Why can't we make a difference? And actually, the Legislative Finance Committee issues a report every year to the legislature, and it addressed this very point, the achievement gap. And I'd just like to read you one sentence in their conclusions. It's on page 15 of their report. It says, more than half the achievement gap found between children from economically advantaged and disadvantaged families in later years is already present when the children reach kindergarten. Okay.
Kindergarten.
So, kindergarten. In other words, the gap exists before they reach kindergarten.
Wow.
It's not occurring in the third grade, second grade, first grade. It's not a problem with high school. It's already present, and it increases as the kids go along. All right. So if we want to do something about it, we can either keep rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic and call it school reform, as Democrats and Republicans do, or we can do something about the achievement gap that already exists when kids reach kindergarten.
Wow, that's interesting. On a gut level, Tom Garrity, that makes sense when we look at the entirety of our social structure here in New Mexico. Families, it's difficult to send a kid out the door for a lot of families ready to learn. It's a difficulty. Then we end up blaming them down the road when they're 9th, 10th, 11th graders. And what really scared me, Tom, was the amount of students in their senior year not showing up, upwards of 25% not showing up for class, almost as if they're exiting out of society. already. It breaks your heart when you read about this.
Yeah, you know, overall, when you look at the APS graduation rates and the statewide graduation rates, when they were announced and released, you know, the governor's office was quick to point out truancy, which is the issue that you raised. And you know, as an observer of this and a former, you know, insider with Albuquerque Public Schools many years ago, you almost wonder what the impacts are. You know, why all of a sudden now is truancy more of an issue? It's always been an issue, but why is it more of an issue now? And you know, I've heard different conversations with different educators who some suggest that it's because the teachers who have been overanalyzed and over-tested and over-examined are leaving, and those are the teachers who know how to engage the seniors. So there's that argument. The other argument is the family structure, and of course everybody has a different definition of what that family structure is, but I'm convinced that poverty and you know, really is the number one item, and that, you know, that really needs to be addressed. You know, back in the days with APS, you know, the best third grade reading program was at John Adams Middle School. So, you know, if you think about that, you know, you really don't have, the elementary schools at the time were not equipped to really adequately provide, you know, solid education to their students or to equip their parents. And so, you know, as has been mentioned before, I think you need to look at that as a first step. You know, how do you first equip the parents, the adult community, to help the students to be successful?
That's right, exactly right. Margaret, you know,
I just wanted to mention that kids who leave school to pursue a GED and maybe use that toward getting a college education they're counted as dropouts, so they could be in some way skewing those rates, I believe.
Well, let's stay with that for a second, because Merritt mentioned charter schools, and there is a difference, Margaret, right, in where the charter school folks are coming from and where APS is coming from on graduation rates. Anything in there signal something to you? Are charter schools doing markedly better on graduation rates? Or?
Not in the numbers that I saw that the state released. In fact, there were some fairly surprisingly low ones there. But again, I wonder if those are reflective of demographics. And some of the schools are targeted specifically for kids who are dealing with high family poverty or learning issues, and who weren't able to succeed. And so that in a traditional school, and charters become kind of a last stopgap.
Sure,
so
absolutely.
That could be
We're down to about a minute and a half here, Stephen. Interventions with families. This comes up a lot, that somehow, you know, helping families be better parents or be better stewards of their student brood, so to speak, you know, giving them the life skills to work with that. Doesn't seem to be much stomach for that kind of thing in our legislature, because it gets intrusive and weird for some folks.
Well, you know, the legislature's trying, I think, but but there's just not enough money in the general fund to do it. Right now, there are home visiting programs in New Mexico. There's about 2,800 kids in home visiting programs. These are programs where families are visited every week. They're taught how their children should be progressing. They're taught how to relate to their kids. They're doing exact things that Tom talked about. Okay, but there's 28,000 kids born every year. 80% of them qualify for Medicaid, those births. Okay, so we're in a very high poverty state. 2,800 out of 28,000. The programs are 3 3/4. They're prenatal to three, so they're 3 3/4 years long. 2,800 kids is a drop in the bucket. It's not going to make a difference in the achievement gap.
Wow, interesting. I didn't mean to skip over you. I want to talk about charter schools. You brought it up a little bit ago. Again, same question I had for Margaret. Do you see a market difference? Are charter schools that far out in front of the pack here as far as you're concerned? Or are they part of the same problem for everybody when it comes to graduation? Well,
different charter schools have different missions, and sometimes they're for creative arts, which is a very different mindset, or performing arts. Some are college prep, some are alternative schools.
Fair enough, yeah.
So I'm involved with a college prep school, and it is a challenge because we're a rural charter school. This is East Mountain High School.
Okay.
So it's a rural charter school, so we have transportation challenges. You know, we're serving the same population as APS because it's a public school, it's a no-cost school. So I think charter schools with a specific mission, and by being able to localize to their actual community and have a more narrowed focus, are able to be more successful. And I think that's why you'll see a lot of rural legislators are much more supportive of charter schools than a voucher program. because there's no other alternative but being able to open a charter school that's free. Sure. If you were able to open a private school, could anyone afford it where you went to?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Up next, we learn about vaccination rates here in New Mexico, and later in the hour, the line debates legislation that would hold back third graders who can't read proficiently at the end of the year.